Hi everyone, Paul Cardin here of the Wirral In It Together blog. I'll start this video with a statement I know to be true, which is UK councils have no duty to provide street lighting. So does it follow that they have no duty to provide 5G infrastructure? Alright, keep watching. I should start by saying that I posted this item on the Wirral In It Together blog just over a year ago, so going back quite a way. But since then things have moved on very quickly. 5G has been rolled out in several UK cities by various telecoms companies, and hundreds of 20-metre 5G masts are now being erected all over the country. Local to Wirral, a 5G mast in Birkenhead was refused planning permission recently, but a second application is now being considered by the council's planning department and planning committee. So first of all, a little about me. Speaking as a former local authority street lighting designer, I can state with confidence that although I left the role almost 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, the provision of public street lighting is a power and not a duty. But what does this mean in plain language? Well, the advantage to your local council is a purely financial one. Under this arrangement, should you be walking along the road and injure yourself in the reduced visibility beneath a broken streetlight, there's a very good chance that you will not be able to build a claim against them for negligence or failure to maintain their equipment, because they are not duty bound to provide those lampposts and lanterns and lamps in the first place. In the notes below this video, I've copied a link to a court case expanding on this point, which involves my former employer, Cheshire West and Chester Council. I finally left this employer, and there lies the tale, just a month before this incident. Although the regulatory authorities are extremely keen to have Chinese firm Huawei jumping through hoops to obtain their 5G certifications, matters are rather more relaxed when it comes to providing the public with some or any reassurance that the technology is not hazardous to human health. You see, in the rush to provide us with super vast broadband and themselves with eye-watering profits, they haven't been required by UK government or its regulatory partners to conduct any safety tests. The customary fail-safe on product safety, known as the precautionary principle, which has to be satisfied before any UK product is allowed onto the market, is being completely ignored and bypassed in the case of 5G infrastructure and 5G mobile phones. This dangerous cart before the horse situation also applies in the United States and elsewhere globally. And now some more about me. One of my previous occupations was in the Royal Navy, which occurred a long time before my street lighting experience. Here I worked in radio communications on both ships and shore bases for a period of 7 years between 1976 and 1983. So along with the street lighting, I also happen to have a very good understanding of radio propagation, the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and basically how far around the world you could expect to fling your signal, be it voice, Morse, radio automatic teletype, that's me giving my age away, when taking into account terrain, time of day or night, power and frequency requirements. In my time on Royal Navy ships, I remember with alarming clarity the vivid red circles painted on the upper deck around high frequency HF high power whip aerials. Basically, the received wisdom for us radio people or sparkers on this was to do with male fertility. Do not enter this area if you want to be in a position to father children when you're a big boy. Okay, on to the technical bit. As far as radio propagation goes with 5G, We're talking microwave, millimetre band radiation within the SHF band of super high frequencies, or between 3 and 30 gigahertz. 5G itself occupies the narrower long-term evolution ranges of between 600 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, and also 24 to 86 gigahertz, with super fast data rates expected of 20 gigabits per second inside the latter group of millimetre bands. The problem with this bandwidth is that although it's line of sight, there are power losses and therefore economic losses, requiring signal relaying transceivers to be mounted at least 150 metres apart. Taller masts would provide economic benefits, greater distances between masts would give better coverage, but 25 metres in height is the legal limit in the UK. I think that may have gone up, but crucially the higher the frequency, in this case up to 86 gigahertz, the lower the signal range. And this is where 30 metre spaced 8 to 10 metre street lighting columns or lampposts come in. Presumably a large proportion of the EE rollout and other subsequent ones will involve the use of tall buildings, independently installed masts, and millions, yes, millions of council lampposts. On average, 8 and 10 metre tall main road lighting columns or lampposts have an approximate 30 metre design spacing. I'd envisage that negotiations between local authorities and telecoms companies, particularly BT and EE, have either reached a very advanced stage or are now concluded. However, I've placed another link below to an article in the Guardian newspaper. It often contains business and technology news which is covered very well and done without any recourse to the accustomed political fakery that the Guardian gets involved with. I'd like to thank campaigner Ian R. Crane for bringing my attention to this. And finally, the crux of this video. As the provision of public street lighting is a power and not a duty, when a local authority agrees to make its lighting stock available for dual purpose use, that of enabling a technologically advanced, although thoroughly dubious, non-safety tested telecommunications network, which is invisibly zapping out microwaves in all directions, often at high power, then matters get quite complicated. Local authorities, be they county, unitary, district or parish councils, all have one thing in common: a constitution. Below in the notes is a link to the constitution of my local council, Wirral. I echo the words of Ian R. Crane here. Let's examine these documents for all local councils across the United Kingdom, find the public pledges they've made and hold their feet to the fire. From page 8 in the Wirral Constitution, for example, here's a pledge that most people were probably not aware of. Quote, "The Council welcomes participation by its citizens in its work." Okay, so the next time Councillor Bloggs tries to close you down or fob you off, hold his feet to the fire and quote it back at him. As for the power and duty thing, how can a council potentially say to you as a citizen in the near future that they have a duty to help citizens achieve super fast 5G connection speeds if the equipment they're talking about is mounted on a lamppost which they had absolutely no duty to provide? That's very important. Radio frequency, RF, has been determined a potential carcinogen by the World Health Organization. That's a fact. And as at the business end of all this, down on street level, you may be unlucky enough to live on a main road and have an 8 or 10 metre lamppost out the front with a 5G transceiver fitted to its lantern. The radio frequency signal emerging from this 24/7 may not breach walls, but it will stream through the glass of your windows and bounce around inside the room. If your baby or toddler is put to bed for 10 to 12 hours every night in the vicinity of a 5G microwave emitting street lighting lantern mounted transceiver, i.e. between 3 and 5 meters away from it, and your baby develops a cancer, did the council exceed their power by agreeing to have the offending 5G transceiver fitted on top of a street lighting lantern, which very importantly they had no duty to install? That is crucial. Currently it seems to me that councils may want it both ways, i.e. no responsibility in law for failing to maintain their lighting equipment, and then the facility to rebuff any potential claims should personal injury cases arise connected to the retrofitting of non-safety tested, potentially hazardous 5G infrastructure. Okay, that's it for now. I'll be keeping my eye on how things pan out, both here on Wirral and nationally, with everything I've mentioned in mind. Let's not forget that the telecoms industry here in the UK was given protected status right through the 3 long months of COVID-19 lockdown, allowing them free rein to step it up while we were all conveniently out of the way. My mouth isn't working tonight. And stuck indoors and unable to ask questions, much less protest. Okay, they really took advantage of us. That's it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.